of computer crashing. We are talking today about natural wine. We are talking today about one of our very favorite wineries in the whole country, not because they produce natural wines, just because they produce some freaking fantastic wines. And we're going to talk Pearl Morissette, producer of the very famous or the infamous 2017 Cuvée 19e Chardonnay that I gave 98 points a couple years ago. So we're going to talk about our new feature this week. Also, we're going to talk about the Silva Vineyard. We're going to talk about the vineyard experience. We're going to talk about the next couple feature that we're going to do and much more, because there's a lot going on in the world of wine right now. It's harvest that started last week already here in BC. I'm hearing a lot of great stuff despite the whole craziness that we're going through here in the Okanagan. I'm hearing that Ontario harvest is starting in the next couple of days. So some very, very exciting time in the world of wine here in Canada. So Mira Boucher, good evening. How's that going?
Going great now that we have some wine open.
We sure do have some great wine open. So cheers to you. Yeah, we have not only we have wine open tonight. Cheers to you. Not only we have wine open, but we have some freaking fantastic wines open. Okay. I definitely have, and more I smell this wine, more I taste it, and thank the Lord, I had an extra bottle of that in the cellar, and I thought that was it. The sample that we had last week was it? No, we had an extra bottle. So, surprise, surprise, more I smell this wine, more I taste this wine, more I think this is a candidate for wine of the year. This is going straight on my top 10. I freaking not love, but adore. Like I am in love with that wine. And this is the Cuvée Madeleine Cabernet Franc from Pearl Morissette. Oh my Jesus Lord. The nose, I can't wait to dig into that. But yeah, and first and foremost, we have a white also, and this is the 2021, the Silva Vineyard, of course, Chardonnay. Of course, Chardonnay. There you go. That's the first wine we have right here. And there was a last minute choice to put that out of the cellar, because you know what? I want to talk Chardonnay a little bit today. I want to talk the Silva at the very same time, because, and you know what? Before we start talking about Pearl, how about we talk about September 16? I think it's very, yeah. So what? Okay, do you want to talk about? I would like to let you start and introduce that really freaking cool event that we are doing here in the Okanagan at the Silva Vineyard. And it's not a tasting; it's not a sit down like usual tasting. We're doing something unique. We're doing something Carl's Wine Club style. And Mira, how about you tell us a little bit more about the details?
Yeah, so every year for the last year and this year, we shortlisted the top wineries that we discovered in BC and Ontario, and we let members vote on their number one winery for BC and number one winery for Ontario. We discovered about 43 different wineries in the club last year. And members voted De Silva number one for BC and Sue-Ann Staff number one for Ontario. So, starting the tradition we did last year, members said, well, you should have a party at both wineries. So we did. So last year we had crazy fun. We had a hog roast on a spit at Black Market in BC. Then the people from Black Market flew out to our party that we did over at Bellaterra in Niagara. And that was a lot of fun by the lake, the pond they have there. So this year we went to Sue-Ann Staff in Niagara. We had an amazing dinner by the lake, tasted a bunch of her wines and back vintages and special wines, as well as the De Silva wines, which were there, and So was Richard and Twyla De Silva in person out in Niagara. So much fun. So now it is De Silva's turn to host a members event. And what we decided to do for this one is pretty special because it's during harvest. We are actually going to taste like the wine alongside the ripened grape from this year, and possibly a barrel tasting at the end. So you can kind of see like wine in its different stages, in the grape, in the finished product, in the barrel. And what's more is at some point during that event, we're going to walk out into the vineyard, give everybody some vineyard clippers, and you can clip a bit of your own grapes and taste those grapes alongside the wines. We also have some beautiful canapes being made up by local caterers. So there'll be pairings, wines, and the grapes themselves. It's a really unique opportunity. So if you are heading to the Okanagan or you live here, you should definitely stop by September 16th, starting at 2 p.m. at De Silva. Tickets, today's the last day to get the early bird. They're $80 early bird or $95 after today, and that gets you the 4 wines we're tasting, a welcome bubbly, the walk through the vineyard with the winemaker, canapé pairings with each wine, as well as a guided tasting for each part where we go through the wine and the grape, and then maybe a little extra at the end with the barrel tasting. So
there's a pretty good chance. And you know what's also like I think we're pretty blessed that we had the chance to work with Richard and Twyla for the last couple of years. But to spend an afternoon with Richard in his temple, meaning that in the vineyard, I mean, it's pretty cool to just like pick this guy's brain about viticulture, about grape growing, about winemaking. It's going to be pretty cool to be spending time with him right in his vineyard. But like you mentioned, Mira, tasting the wine, tasting at every stage, at every step of the way. It is so pretty darn cool to have that experience, especially when you're with the maker, especially when you got the information right from the mouth of the horse. Like I mean, how freaking cool is that to hear how everything has been made, and like right there with the owner winemaker. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to that a lot. So that's why tonight I've cracked the 2021 Chardonnay. Like I said, I could have let that Chardonnay sit in the cellar for multiple years. This Chardonnay is good to drink now. This Chardonnay can hold the road for 5 to 7 years, really easy, if not more, all depending on where you like your Chardonnay, at which stage of the curve you like your Chardonnay. I like them young. I like them vibrant. I love them with tension. So this 2021 to me absolutely speak to me big time. This one all on citrus, like lemon drop, the tiny, like the oak. It's already well integrated. There's no burst of almond cookie, that little type of a side of Chardonnay that I'm not crazy about. This is right up my alley. I love that story from De Silva a lot. And you all know if you look at the rating last year and the top 10 wine of the year that we put together, the Legato was number 3 on the whole list, the Legato Chardonnay. So absolutely my style of wine, like very well made. So that's what's in our glass this morning. And also talking about Chardonnay, talking about my passion for Chardonnay, talking about all the thing crazy that we do in the club about Chardonnay is like these crazy marathon. The 2 biggest marathon we've done were with Chardonnay. We went all the way up to 67 Chardonnay at the time. Mira wanted me to talk more about Chardonnay, and we're going to do together. We're going to do at home, sitting in the comfort of our space. We're going to do a master class with 12 people. Well, myself, Mira, and 10 other people. We're going to host a master class about Chardonnay. We're going to put BC, Ontario, Canadian Chardonnay in general, side by side with international Chardonnay to see where we stand, to see where we are live on stage with international Chardonnay. It's going to be a pretty cool experience. So we're going to do that in the next couple months. I'm not sure exactly the date. I know that Mira has the date somewhere, somehow. When she's back on, she's gonna mention the date a little bit. But yes, Chardonnay Masterclass, a 2.5-hour experience. Mira, Carl, and 10 other guests. We're gonna go deep. We're gonna dig deep into the Chardonnay world here in Summerland, BC. It's gonna be epic. So the date has been set. Mira's gonna, I don't have the calendar into my finger here, but it's gonna be pretty awesome. I already have some idea of the lineup. I already have some idea of flights that we're gonna do. So yeah, it is really exciting. So that's cheers to Chardonnay again. And you know why? I think it fits the bill right now because it's Chardonnay time. It's harvest for Chardonnay. I mean, like, it's one of the first grade pick, usually. And yeah, I'm hearing like all over the place right now, we're picking Chardonnay right now. So I can't wait to hear more about the state of the harvest. It's going to be an interesting harvest report this year in terms of the size of the crop, in terms of where the fires were affected the crop. But like, one thing that we know, like, I think the south of the Okanagan is we're fairly good in terms of smoke taint. So I can't wait. Like, we'll talk more, but we're going to bring you a full harvest report for Ontario, for BC, for Nova Scotia, for Vancouver Island. We're going to bring you a full harvest report later in October. But cheers to Chardonnay. Speaking about Chardonnay, I think there is the segue that I was looking for. That's the segue between everything Chardonnay that we do to Pearl Morissette. This is our feature this week, collector edition feature. I know, I understand. It's not a price point for everybody. I understand that. I mean, 6 bottles for $340. It's a expensive one, but darn it, when you dig deep into the in the lineup, when you look at what's in the bottle, when you look at the potential to sit that on the cellar, and when you look at the quality of the wine, these wines are world-class and really so freaking spectacular. So speaking Chardonnay, this one, okay, here, this is Cuvée 19e, right? People who follows us for a while now know that 17 Cuvée 19e was the darling of the club for many years. And I remember a year and a half ago, we had Svetlana, the managing partner at Pearl Morissette, live with us during an interview. And she mentioned that, yes, Cuvée 19e 17 was absolutely spectacular, but she truly believed that the 18, who at that time was just got bottled, the 18 had more potential than the 17. That was a more stable vintage. That was a vintage who had a boatload of potential on the long term. And at that time, I already had cracked open the 18 vintage, and I thought, obviously, it was pretty close. It was tight. It was not too expressive. And at that point, the 17 was an absolute bomb. But guess what? The 18 is really starting to come together. The 18 is really coming along. The 18 is really starting to flourish. The 18 is really starting to get expressive. So the proof of that is when we did the Chardonnay Marathon this year, which I think it was the end of July, I had some taster with me behind the camera. If you remember, if you recall, if you spend 5.5 hours with us, if you listen to the show and you were there almost until the end, because this wine was cracked open on the back end of the show. I had the big, like the more expensive wine at the end. that this wine was rated 94 points. This wine, to all of the taster panel that I had behind the camera, they all unanimously put the Cuvée 19e Pearl Morissette 2018. They had it in their top 3, including in my top 10, was at number 3. So now we're talking of the successor of 2017, former darling of Carl's Wine Club. By the way, if you have a 17 in your cellar, you still have one. I believe, like the last couple times that I cracked a 17, it's time to open it. Don't keep it any longer. I believe that he had flourished at the point that it's time now to open it. Now, that 18, I understand what Svetlana meant back then. I understand now when Svetlana was saying that this long-term have more potential. And I see it now. I truly see it now. I see how it's opening up and how he delivers. It's an amazing wine. So 94 points, Chardonnay, the successor of the 2017. So 2018 Cuvée 19e Chardonnay, it's part of the pack that we have. But as good as that Chardonnay is, it's not the highest rated wine in that pack. To my opinion, always. But there's other critic that I dig deeper and I look at what the others were doing. There's not a whole lot of these wines were already rated, but there's another wine that I believe that's even better. To my rating, I'm going to talk about it a little later. That's what's in my glass here. That's what's in Mira's glass down below. And we're going to talk about it a little later. But I want to go through the whole lineup. There's a Cuvée 19e Chardonnay, but let's start with the 2 Rieslings that we have. Because Pearl Morissette, at the core, has a couple of key grapes that they're working with. They're mostly 3. Riesling, Cabernet Franc, and Chardonnay are 3 of the very key grapes on their portfolio. This week, with our collector edition, yes, collector edition, yep, we're focusing on 2 of them, mostly. So, let's get to, where's that bottle? And we're going to do some testing as well, okay? Because, let me get back to, okay, it's an interesting point. Because Pearl Morissette are natural, it's a natural wine producer. They don't necessarily advertise themselves as natural wine producer. Yes, that's what they do. Quick definition, they don't use chemical in the vineyard. They don't use chemical. They don't use commercial yeast to create the fermentation. They only go with natural ferment. They grow organically. Then they use that very, very minimal amount of sulfur to protect the wines while bottling. So pretty simple. It's an old way of making wines like they're doing it early in the previous century. Let Mother Nature do the whole work. Am I a big fan? Am I a preacher of natural wine? Just saying that you have to drink natural wine to be in better health, or all natural wines are better than no. If you know me, if you've been following us for a while, that's not who we are. When I preach, though, it's what's in my glass is freaking awesome. I like to talk about it. Natural wine, non-natural wine, whatever it is. But if it's something clean, if it's something ethical, I don't care if it's natural or not. We'll talk about it because it's freaking awesome, and we want Canadian wine lovers to know about it. Now it just happened that Pearl Morissette are a natural wine producer. So all of these wines are made naturally. And the biggest key in all that, and if you talk with Svetlana, if you talk with the people, if you talk with François Morissette, I think what they try to talk the most about, it's about the fermentation process. They don't use commercial yeast. They only use the ambient yeast around the vineyard to make it. There you go. Look who's joining me here. Here we are. Good evening, Mira.
Good evening, Carl.
Let me move my leg here. We're gonna squish. I'm not supposed to show my bottom here. Okay, so there you go. Mira's joining me here.
Yes.
But you're gonna have to reach behind you. I will need the
Oh, it's Karen. Hi, Karen.
Is there? No, it's not.
What would you like?
I was looking for the Viognier Riesling, but it's not there.
Okay.
Maybe downstairs, because I saved a little bit.
Did you?
I wanted to see what's in that, what's left if it's held the road after a week.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll bring it for you.
So, so Mira's showing up and she's changing the thing. If you touch that, Mira, it doesn't hold. So that's why.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll give it like that.
It was crooked.
I know it is. I did my best. Okay. And now she's gone. There you go. Let's do it again. Focusing on yeast, natural yeast, the fermentation. So when you talk with the team at Pearl Morissette, sorry for the confusion here, I just got completely sidetracked. They talk to you about a lot about the natural fermentation with the natural ambient yeast, and also the vintage. That's what the vintage has to provide. So sometimes fermentation will take a month and a half. Sometimes fermentation will take 3 months. For some case, some of their wines, fermentation took a year and a half for the whole batch of wine to get their whole fermentation completed. They ferment their wine completely bone dry, all of them. That was why I wanted to talk about fermentation, because the Riesling that we are featuring this week, both Rieslings are oh yeah, put it in the fridge. Yes, are completely bone dry, but both of these Rieslings are completely different, like really, really, really different. So this was open over a week ago. There's very, very little left in there. And I want to see what happened with that wine
After a week?
After a week. Okay. It's like there's very little, like this left. Okay.
So it's like almost like it's been sitting open for a week.
Yeah.
Okay. So Carl experiments.
Live.
And live.
So it's not good. We'll see. Okay. The nose is not weird.
No, it's a nice nose. Okay. There is something about, I know it's funky. I know sometimes it's too funky for you, but with natural wines, there is,
Oh, there's a lot out there that I just can't stand. It's way too funky. It's too weird, too geeky. And I don't think it's for, anyway.
That is still enjoyable.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it?
That
Over
has
a
long
week
finish.
old.
Oh, man.
And that's one of the things. So Viognier Riesling. This is the 2018 vintage. Okay. This wine was like, there was a few cases left in their library. So this not available anywhere. They just decided to give Carl's Wine Club 5 cases of that.
And it's 2018.
18. Okay. This wine is in its prime right now. I believe that this wine is absolutely shining. Dry Riesling, but we'll compare with the other Riesling, the White Ball. How the texture is so much different. This is creamy. This is round. This is soft. For a dry Riesling, It's very, very surprising how soft and round. 22 months of aging on lees, either in concrete or in food. Food is these big, giant oak container. Let's put it that way, container. Giant. There's not even barrel size shape. They are like kind of big egg shape. There you go.
Is that a food?
Yep, this is the food. So these are the food. So 22 months of aging on its lees. So that's what brings that creaminess.
And so speaking of, because they're natural, they're unfined, unfiltered, this is how you can see, okay, on this side right here that I'm shaking, that's the Chardonnay that has been filtered. And here is the one I'm swirling now, is the unfiltered Riesling by Vien. So it's just, for the eyes, it's a different thing.
Very, very different. So round, soft, creamy. There's still a little bit of fruit sweetness, even in a bone dry Riesling. So it's really interesting. This is not the austerity. It's not the, I'll show the other one. It's not the really zippy, zingy, aggressive, like really like that real bone dry, austere type of Riesling that you have in the white ball. So we have Vivier Riesling 2018 and White Ball 2021.
The white ball is newer vines too.
So that's the difference here. Okay, so I don't have the white ball bottle. This is the black ball. The black ball is their flagship, but the white ball is the same color with the green. Anyway, the white ball is the first release ever of the white ball. It's the younger block of their home vineyard on the 20-mile bench. It's the first wine that they make with that younger block, with only 11 months of aging on its lees. So 22 months here brings a wine creamy and round, and the 11 months of younger vines bring you something zippy, aggressive, austere, something like if you like wine with an incredible personality, like something like
it definitely has a spunky sort of personality.
Oh, like that lemon juice, like something that you're like, oh wow, okay.
So it's an interesting side by side. This is a good party trick. If you get this pack from Pearl Morissette this week, the one that's curated, these two wines side by side at a party, and then you can be like, you can taste them blind too. And
these are the two spectrum, the two not the extreme. No, this is one extreme of the spectrum, the real bone dry Riesling.
And that's the white ball.
The white ball, and you have the little bit more approachable, softer, rounder. But this is the white ball. The white ball style is something that I would say has this following. Like lots of people really like that directional, that precision style of Riesling. So yeah.
And which one would you say is better with food then?
I would say it's completely different. Completely different. It just depends what you're having. Oh. I mean here with that, like such a directional, such a zippiness, you can have like something with a little bit of fattiness
with the white ball Riesling.
With the white ball, and that's gonna cut through everything rich, anything creamy sauce, because sometimes with like a big fish, like a halibut, right?
Yeah.
And like it's big, it's juicy, and it's flaky. Let's say with the cream sauce, you can go two ways. You either go with a round wine, like a Chardonnay, or you go with the opposite, a contrast, and you go something to cut through the whole thing. And this is absolutely the best thing to do with that. I like that with shellfish though, because of the minerality of the shellfish, the saltiness. Like I would like that with the sauté of prawn. You know, like okay, let's go to the Silva. Let's go to the kitchen. Let's sit on the patio and order the piri prawn.
Oh, yeah.
These big spicy prawn. Yes. I want that with that spicy prawn. Okay. So yes.
So it's funny because De Silva is one of my favorite wineries, and this is like the Mira test. Okay, you just put wines in front of me, I taste them all, and then the one that I keep going back to, you know, that one's my favorite. So by the end of the night, the one that's an empty glass amongst the like fuller glasses, that one was my favorite. And it's really funny because I have a De Silva Chardonnay here, which I love, and I have the Vivienne, which is a week old.
and not
I keep going back to the Vivienne.
Yeah,
it's
because
so funny.
And it's just because the geekiness in that, like that's just
it's super interesting.
It's really, really, really interesting. And also now you know that it's a week old. So like they're so, and the craziness about that, it's because why I wanted to do that test is because of the perception. Natural wine cannot last, right? That's what people say.
Yeah, a lot of people think that.
But I would say that too. Because
it has less sulfur, a lot less sulfur, which is what a lot of wineries will put in for preserving it, right?
To protect it,
yeah.
To protect the wines. But that's what I kept coming back with the Fury, with the Meritage blend, the 70% Cabernet Sauvignon. Every day over the last 8 days, I'm tasting it and seeing more thing coming out. Nothing disappearing, thing appear.
Yeah. It's getting
stuff coming up
so
out of that wine. So it's crazy. Like, so I know that they produce some crazy wines, and this week is just showing me like, okay, we picked the right wines.
Yeah.
In that pack.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we were at the winery recently. We were in Niagara with members. Like Daryl was there, Mike was there. And I was so excited to go to the winery because we've enjoyed their wines for so long and I'd never been. And the wines we tasted that day, we tasted a lot of wines that day. I don't think any of those wines except for the Fury is in this selection.
Yeah, that's the only one.
And maybe because it was cold, it was early in the morning, I don't know, but they were not the kind of wines that we're tasting right now.
Absolutely not. Not even close. Not even close. The experience is different.
And so that's the weirdest thing, because normally when you go to a winery, you fall in love, like your container story the other week. Carl ordered a freaking container of wine once.
Of crappy wine, just because it was so cool to be sitting in the vineyard, because the emotion was so high. And
usually when you're at the winery, everything tastes better because it's just
that's the back of the story, right? But yeah. Anyway, just like that helped, like the selection this week of what they have. It's just absolutely spectacular because
they pulled out the big guns for us from the back.
Yeah. So two very different Riesling, 92 points for this one. And 2018 is shining right now. Okay. The white ball, stash it down. Stash it.
Young vines
in the cellar, needs to relax. The tension is just at the really stash it for a while, forget about it. This one's going to be good. Like the white ball will be good for at least 10 years, even if it's a first release.
Nice.
So,
well, especially with that acidity in the structure.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the two reasons. Let's move on to red. Okay, I will move on with the younger version to start, and after that we're gonna go. Can you pass me Racine du Ciel, please? Yeah. So now we're gonna move into let's do with the young Cabernet Franc. This is Creek Shore Appellation 2021 Racine du Ciel. Okay, can you please pour some in my glass? Nope, thank you.
Not that it matters, because this is also a week old. So
yeah,
lit or not.
the color has faded for this one. The color is turning a little orange, so that's telling me, and the nose also. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's oxidation in there.
Yeah. So when we do these tests over, like tasting it over multiple days, the idea is we learn from a winemaker that every day that it's been open, like with the cork in, but open, is like a year of aging, or 1 or 2 years of aging. So if you have it open for a week, it's like 7 to 14 years of aging.
Yeah.
So this one we're thinking is a younger one. It's probably not the one to age for 7 to 14 years. It's more the one to have in the next few
This wine is weird. Is weird. It has a shorter window in the sense that this wine has to be stashed for a couple of years. It's not
it's not quite
necessarily
ready
ready yet.
But
And
it
this
needs-
wine is not also going to have, maybe not have the same shelf time.
Mhm.
So,
So there's kind of a window.
yeah, exactly.
2 to 5 years from now that you want to drink the Racine.
That's
if you get
exactly,
this one.
exactly. So, but there's also one thing here
Yes.
that I left that bottle without a lid or anything for a full day.
Yeah. So that would have
So-
added like an extra 5 years to
Yeah,
the aging process.
So, not really fair.
No.
But yeah. Okay, so Creekshore appellation, very small, smaller production, I believe, with that wine. No, not this one. This one is 800.
837 cases.
Lower alcohol, 11.5 for a red wine, 11.5 for a Cab Franc. It's pretty low in alcohol, so pretty kind of interesting winemaking here. That was not my favorite wine of the pack. That's my lowest rated at 89 points. But this is this is 100% concrete. So this wine has not touched wood, haven't touched barrel or food. Everything was fermented in concrete egg. So you don't have the roundness. This is pretty linear. It's just pretty unidirectional. But definitely has a style.
Yeah.
For the leaner style Cabernet Franc drinker.
Mhm.
There's also a really, really precise and good finish. That's the biggest attribute to this wine to me. It's the precision on the finish. So that's for Racine du Ciel. Okay, experience done with this one. Now let's move on to.
And I don't care what they say that you can't taste concrete. I swear, I think we should do a blind tasting one day and put in a concrete in there and see if I can tell. Because I feel like there is something specific about concrete in a wine. It's a little bit different.
It changed the texture.
Change the texture. You get an interesting kind of creamy texture. And then I do feel like there's something concretey about it. I don't know. But people are like, oh, no. You can never taste the concrete in the wine. It's meant to be a little bit like stainless steel, but I swear I can. So blind tasting one day.
Concrete versus oak and stainless. We'll put that together.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going with the 92 plus points here. This is the reflection of 2020 vintage. Ontario 2020.
Bigger,
bolder, hotter. I'll use quote from winemakers from the region, vintage of the century. So I was really excited about that. First, I taste that wine in a very cold environment. And yeah, I like and I was a little too tense when I tasted that wine. When I tasted this wine in the comfort of my home, a little warmer temperature, I think the finish on that wine was one of the longest finish that I had in like all the wines that I tasted this year. The finish on that wine, it's absolutely nuts. So,
and we had it with burgers the other day.
yeah.
And it got spicy and like this long finish. It was really good with burgers.
So this is Cabernet Sauvignon, 70% Cab Sauv. That's like rough. 20% Merlot, 10% Cab Franc. If I'm not mistaken, I may be reversing Cab Franc and Merlot. No, it's not on the label. You don't do that.
It's probably in your tasting note.
Oh,
on the
it is
website.
for sure.
Lincoln Lakeshore appellation.
Still, after over a week, because we tasted these wines. If you go back to listen to the show last week, these wines were open since the day before. No, we tasted them the day before to retaste them anyway. It's been over a week.
So it's been 8 days.
So there's a soft texture in there. Soft texture, cassis. There's that capsule.
Still has the finish.
Oh yeah, it's still that white pepper.
Mm-hmm.
That's like it is so much lingering, like cinnamon, cumin. There's so much going on in that darn finish, but the texture is so soft. Also,
Holy cow, I still really like that one.
I know, I know. So Racine, a Fury, to me, is just so worth and this wine, it's probably the wine who's gonna last the most in that whole lineup.
Interesting.
That 2020,
more than the Madeleine, you think?
I think so. But there's 2 years or younger, right?
Yeah.
And it's 2020, and it's mostly Cab Sauv.
Which
So
generally lasts longer.
yeah, exactly. So
Oh, but now I'm going to the one that we did open today. We opened this afternoon.
yeah, absolutely.
Is it time for that one yet?
I don't know. Tell me something. Tells you somewhere on the wall. Is there a sign
There
that says you
rules?
can't? Is there a
Is
rule?
there rules? No.
Is there any?
No, the rules. Okay.
Um,
So, and what do you got there?
That's the Madeleine too.
Oh,
Okay, so yeah.
this is all my own.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Do you think that's you're the only one to get through that today? So what I want to say here is these two here
The
are
30 and the va-et-vient.
are 292 points.
Darlings.
Okay, 292 points here. Fury 92 plus, and an extreme potential, like long-term potential. This wine, you know what? I didn't thought of that. Should have been 92 plus to 94, like an open score, because I can truly see this wine in 5 years absolutely blows your socks off. This
Put
wine.
that one away. Let's
My
do it.
Senti.
Well, it lasted 7 days.
Okay, so
Full
Fury,
bottle.
yeah, incredible aging potential. But right now, that's the thing, right? Don't just say, "Oh, I can't drink this one right now." No. This one, like, it is really freaking enjoyable right now.
It is.
The texture, anyway. So don't stop yourself from drinking it now if you want, because it's just so freaking good. So Fury 2020 vintage. Also, what I like, when you get to a big wine from a big vintage, often I get disappointed by the higher alcohol.
Yeah.
This
is only
but Pearl don't
13.5.
do that. This is a 13.5 Cab Sauv blend from a big vintage. So I love how the alcohol is managed, all naturally.
Yeah.
That's the cool
Crazy
thing, right? The relationship between alcohol level goes with the fermentation, right? So
And they don't mess with the fermentation. Like, it's all natural yeast.
all natural.
And they
So
don't
at
stop it artificially.
13.5, it's right, like in the Bordeaux, old school Bordeaux wheelhouse. This is like, yeah, this is really, really cool. So Fury 2020 vintage, love it. 92 plus aging potential. So now we're going to the 2018 Cuvée Madeleine, Cabernet Franc. Listen, yeah, this has the potential to be the wine of the year. Well, not in terms of score so far, because I already have one wine who scored, a couple wines who scored 95. We had one during the Chardonnay marathon, one or two. I have so far in the clubhouse. My wine of the year has to be, it's right up there. I can't reach. It's the Ice Cellar Syrah 2020. That's my wine of the year in the club so far this year.
And we're only in
September.
So we're about to taste some big reds this fall. So
has to be not far off. I give it a 94 plus, but every time I taste it, every time I want to give it more. Oh my God.
So this is the same 2018 Cuvée
Yeah.
Medlin that we had in our first offering from Pearl Morissette 2 years ago.
That was a pre-release back then.
So some of you guys have this in your cellar, and perhaps you've tried it already. Perhaps you were waiting. So we're giving you a little glimpse into what it's like 2 years after you bought it. And Carl's score has gone up.
Oh yeah.
So 2 years ago, it was what, 93?
93, 2 years ago. I knew there was a crazy potential in there. But you know what? It absolutely blow my expectation out of the water. Like much better than what I was expected.
That is a beauty.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it? The softness, the roundness, but it's just
I
velvet.
gotta find the moment where you first tasted it. I know that the Cuvée 19 you tasted live for the first time.
Yeah.
This one, I'm not sure if it was live for the first time, but I feel like it might have been. Anyway.
But I was definitely not as excited because first the score doesn't reflect that. The first score didn't reflect that. And I do not recall that's the nose of that. That soft cherry liquor. That cherry liquor on the nose is just incredible. By the way, Richard Da Silva, if you're listening right now, I found a bottle. Richard called me today to bug me about the selection this week.
Really?
He was with us at Pearl, right?
He was.
So anyway, and he was asking about my 94 plus. He said, "What's so
You should
special?"
go there tomorrow and show him.
That's what I told him. That's what I told him. So I found a bottle, Richard. Swing by the winery tomorrow. We'll taste that together. And anyone, I'm going down to Oliver tomorrow morning. So if anyone
wants a little sip along the way, we'll do.
Let me know. Let me know. I'll do a pèlerinage.
A pèlerinage, yes, a stop of Cuvée Medlin.
Yeah. So okay? Give me 3 words that describe that wine to you.
Oh,
sorry, put you on the spot.
Jeez. Sure, I've had a glass of wine too already.
It should be easier.
Should be easier.
This is Mira and Carl unplugged here.
So I think, decadent comes to mind. Also, what's the word? Some reason, something about being traditional. Like, it just kind of reminds me of like the good old times. Like, it reminds me of my grandma's house. Like,
okay.
It's some like wholesome.
It's like that cherry wood.
Wholesome is the word, maybe.
Because you always said your grandma has like that cherry wood cabinet.
Had a cherry wood cabinet.
But that's kind of like that.
Like that.
Yeah. There's that kind of smell. So maybe that brings you back to your childhood.
It's just like this wholesomeness to it. Like there's, I don't know. This is a healthy wine. Like
healthy.
Well, like wholesome. Like it's like, I don't know, like a good old fashioned get together with people that have no cell phones.
I'm much dirtier than you are.
Are you?
Oh, fuck.
Okay, so what are your 3 words?
I can't. There might be people under 18 listening.
I hope not.
Yeah.
It's wine.
Yeah, I guess. Like,
if you are, then get off. Sorry. Show me your ID.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No. First and foremost, this wine was open an hour ago.
Yeah.
This one will be much better tomorrow.
You decanted it, right?
I didn't.
You didn't at all?
No.
Jeez.
So what I get in that, it's velvet. Okay. Texturally, this wine, well, we often mention we have a
velvet is good.
We have a benchmark in viewing me in terms of texture, and it's Summerhill Spacefoot Toad Syrah 2016. That's the benchmark in terms of texture.
Yes, that texture of that Spacefoot Toad
gets me.
Oh my god!
To that, I know we mentioned another wine.
It was another one, a Merlot,
a couple weeks ago. Might be the
Not weeks. It was like months ago.
months ago. Okay, I feel like if I talk,
You did. You were like, the only thing that comes close is the Spadefoot Hill Toad Syrah. Spadefoot Toad Syrah. Anyway, give me more wine. Okay.
so Velvet, it's something that comes to mind.
Mhm.
I have that cherry liqueur. The cherry liqueur really, really like it's the dominant flavors that comes to mind. But that, and emotionally, like it's really, really, really sensual. Really, because I didn't want to say sexual, so we need to be. But it's no. This is emotionally. This wine's it's. Mm.
I like that. Keep going.
Yeah. Texturally, the whole experience when I taste that, it's just like, yeah, there's a sensuality, probably much more than sensual in
I'm
this.
sorry, Mike, we missed your comment. On the Madeleine, what is the ABV?
You
have the bottle here?
Yeah, right behind here. Just like the Fury at 13 and a half. 13 and a half. There's much more like sweet fruit. There's that. Yeah. It feels like everything slows down when you taste that wine.
That's what I mean by like old fashioned or like wholesome.
Yeah.
I go back to my statement. A room full of people having a get together, maybe with musical instruments involved, and no cell phones.
Oh, guess what? Don't give me a sip of that wine in that room with a whole bunch of people.
It is great. So
just anyway, so that's the description of the Madeleine 2018. Listen, in terms of aging, where is that on the curve? This wine is getting like it's past its baby phase, definitely. Now it's explosion phase. This wine is super expressive on the nose, on the palate, on the length. This wine is full throttle. Did he hit his stride? Did he hit his peak?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Time to go to.
I don't think so either. Well, I know he's going full throttle right now. He has opened up. I recall 2 years ago.
So maybe it's like on the high five side of the peak, like it's like the.
That's it, right? No, but
like if the peak is like this, it's maybe near.
So the curve, the bell curve is right there, right? So it's nearing the peak, but still
has a way to go.
Has way to go. There's at least another 5-7 years before, like there's so much more. But I would say probably another 1.5 years before eating its peak. Yeah, but you get everything in there. Like this is a wine of exception. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. 94 plus. Every time I taste it, I always feel to give it more.
So 18. So we're now 5 years in. So you're saying when it's about 7 or 8 years, that's probably going to be the peak. Yes.
Fruit, grip, softness, spice. This is Black Forest cake. The cherry, the cherry jam, the chocolate, the vanilla.
You're so right, because
the
it
vanilla,
lingers.
the vanilla whipped cream, the cherry. This is a Black Forest cake.
See, I said decadent. I think that's accurate. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, we could probably talk about this one for a while. So
yes, it's pretty darn freaking.
Do you have any others?
No, that's 6.
That's 6.
Yeah,
okay,
6
so we only had 6 this week because we picked the ones we thought you guys would really enjoy. And they have a lot of different wines. They make a lot of different wines at Pearl Morissette. These are the 6 we thought would be the most enjoyable for members. So,
and out of the 6, only 1 is a current release, and it's the Fury 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Cuvée Madeleine, Cap Franc, Cuvée 19e, Chardonnay, 2 of the flagships, 94 points. We have the Va-et-Vient Riesling and the white balls. The Va-et-Vient's at 92, Fury 92 plus. So we have an incredible ratings and incredible tasting experience, because these wines are more than just a sip of wine. These wines are just like, there's so much going on, and
they're a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
There you go.
So speaking of blind tasting, so that's one we should probably do. Oaked versus stainless steel versus concrete blind. What do you think? Yeah, that could be a fun show. If you guys have other ideas, let us know. We said a while ago that we would do a barrel show where we would have some winemakers on talking about barrels. So oak aging.
About that. Yeah.
I think that could be very interesting, and we could do that blind tasting during that show. What do you think?
Sure.
That would be fun.
Okay.
So yeah, if you guys have other wild ideas for us, let's do it. Tell us what they are. I think we're overdue for another one of these blind tastings on Price Point at some point.
I think so.
So we did one a while back where I didn't know that much about wine yet, and Carl blind tasted me on an $8 wine, a $16 wine, and like a $33 wine. And I was able to pick them out even with my limited experience. So that is really great. And then someone said you should do it again with like 32, 64, and 128. And see.
And I suggested at that time that they pay for the $138.
$128 wine. Yeah, that was a good, so if someone wants to send us one of those bottles, we got plenty of the below $100 bottles. But yeah, that is a fun one too, because you really wonder, is there a huge difference between a $60 wine and a $130 wine? What's the difference really? And then we could go even further at some point and get really crazy and taste.
When you taste the Fury after the Madeleine, you notice that the grip of the Cap Sauv is much more grippy.
You left this much for me. Oh.
Here.
Okay.
There you go. Oop. There you go.
Yeah, definitely grippy.
Cap Sauv, right?
Cap Sauv.
So yeah, here we are. Oh, by the way, I was quickly. I met a cool guy this week, Luke Whitall. So Luke, hi, if you're listening, guys, do the Sipster podcast. He invited me to do an episode for his for the new season number 2.
Yes, and he has a bunch of books, the Sipster's Guide to this or that.
Yeah, so the Sipster Guide usually the first 2 editions was focused on the Okanagan. He is releasing in a month is our first Ontario Sipster's Guide. And our episode with the podcast that he invited me on is going to be aired right after the launch of his book to kind of connect the Ontario section of that. And
what did you taste with him when you were?
So anyway, I said, do you want me to bring anything? Like, do you need? They say, one thing, bring a bottle of wine. So I brought a bottle of Bellaterra.
Yeah.
Bellaterra Merlot 2020. I wanted to showcase. I wanted to talk about the 2020 vintage in Ontario, despite the myths, right? That's what we do. That's why we're on the journey of despite to talk about what people think and what's reality and what's not. Canadian wines, like Canada cannot produce big wines or something like that. About 2020 vintage. Yeah, so I brought
2020 in Niagara sure did.
Yeah, so. Niagara on the lake.
Yes. So you brought one of those.
Merlot.
Bad boy.
Yeah, and he was like, "Whoa, holy crap!" And it's funny
You
because
hadn't tasted that
no,
before.
no, and all the reaction is live on the podcast. You're
Oh, yeah.
listening, like it's
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty, and as much as he's like,
Converting the unconverted one.
that's
wine
it.
at a
Even the
time.
even the BC people, one at a time. So, so yeah, so that was pretty cool. So maybe we should invite him to our show on one of our Wednesday
Mike
shows.
says, yeah, we should actually. The Mythbuster of Canadian wine.
Well, absolutely,
Yeah,
man. I like that. I like that title. Maybe
The
you should.
Mythbuster.
The Mythbuster. Love it.
What's the refrain of that? Like Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters,
Mythbuster.
Canadian wine Mythbusters. Yeah. So yeah, you should definitely invite Luc
Yeah.
Vital
Yeah, we
to
should
our
invite Luke to our show
and talk about his new book, the Ontario 50. What is it? Like 50 Ontario wines to try or something.
yeah, exactly.
Little booklets that he produces. So yeah, I think that's great. I feel like at some point we need to write a book, Carl.
We're gonna call it the Mythbuster.
Yeah.
We'll ask Mike if we can use his line here and.
Who are you gonna call? That's right.
Oh, that Cuban Madeleine! Holy shit! Wow!
I like when you swear.
Oh, fuck that! It's awesome.
I feel like next time we have a get together and we have like a bunch of members staying in our house, I have to like let loose a little more. I don't hear you swearing when we were out there. So
Well, you told me to behave. You told me that. I mean, yeah.
I think we just next time we need to like have a full night of sleep the night before.
Yeah, that would help. That would help. But this one is fucking fantastic. Holy shit. Oh,
Good stuff.
okay. Buckle up, Mira Boucher. We're up for a good night.
It's gonna
Okay.
be fun. Let's go get that pizza.
Yeah.
We made pizza, stuffed crust.
Stuffed crust. Okay.
Right.
You know what? Canadian. Oh, no. Whoa.
What?
Hold on.
What happened?
I'm hitting the road tomorrow. I'm going all the way down to Osoyoos. I'm going to pick up samples at Sonora Desert.
Yes. Oh, so there's something exciting down there.
Whoa. So, okay. I don't know if you guys all remember Siren's Call. So Siren's Call, Mark Simpson, old friend of the show. We featured Siren's
The
Call.
mermaid. There was a
The mermaid, right?
The logo. Do we have his wine
He
here?
said nothing in writing. So we're talking.
Oh, okay.
So Mark has purchased Sonora Desert Winery, the vineyard, the guest house, the whole thing. He turned Siren's Call into Mythology Vineyard. We're featuring next week Mythology. If you remember the Mermaid with Siren's Call, all of these freaking fantastic wines are now under the brand of Mythology Vineyard. So next week we're featuring Mythology, one of his great Syrah, one is Merlot, Pinot Noir. We're going to do also a white Merlot. Anyway.
Mark Simpson, he's kind of the blending master, right?
Yeah, I love what he does. The way he's blending, we are going to have the melodious and the harmonious, so the white blend, the red blend.
Blends the wines really well.
So,
and he's been doing it for a long time. And he's now making vine vodka, which is pretty crazy too.
Exactly, right? So, yeah, so next week we're featuring Mythology, so a brand new brand with winemaker that we know here at Carl's Wine Club. So it's going to be really, really cool. So stay tuned during the weekend and all that for some for some little hints here and there of what we're going to feature and some tasting notes and some scores, because next week we're featuring Mark Simpson. It's going to be pretty cool. Oh my God, this wine is just so freaking good. Cuvée Madeleine 2018. Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.
Happy Wine Wednesday.